Welcome to our second part of our webinar series in respect to design thinking and legal project management. So welcome to you. Just a few notes before we start. So if you have some questions, please ask them in the chat. They will be later presented. We have muted your microphones. However, please be aware that you will be muted and until you want to say something, of course. And most important thing, please recognize that this webinar will be recorded since we want to allow each and every interested person which missed one of the webinars of this series to catch up with that whenever they join the series. What will we talk about today? So we will just introduce you to the whole series. We will present you some results of former workshops so that you can catch up and enter where we are right now. Of course, Carla will lead us through our today's exercise, identifying individual stakeholders. And then we will conclude with the outlook to the next webinars and the rest of the series. So who are we? Of course, Carla, this is your opportunity to have the first word.
Thank you, Roland. My name is Carla Schlepfer. I'm a design thinking facilitator and agile coach. And I am going to lead you through this second webinar in our series of 4 webinars to create, or how to create, more insights and create more value with legal services. In our case, we'll be working on a contract design. I think that we have a really valuable session that we put together today, and really glad that you joined us. And not only our visitors, but a special welcome to our open-minded lawyer who has joined us today, Dirk Tauber. And our other open-minded lawyer who was with us in the first session could not join us today, but we're really happy that Dirk is on board. Dirk?
Yeah, thanks for this nice words. Yeah, I'm a lawyer. I'm based in Hamburg, and I'm happy to give input from the side of a lawyer to this webinar.
And that makes it really very, all the more relevant because we have a lawyer working through these particular design thinking, human-centered design exercises, and he then takes the perspective of a lawyer. But today we'll look at different stakeholders that are somehow involved in our business case. However, before we do that, we want to add a little bit more to our short, factual introduction, and in the manner of design thinking, create a little bit of a human connection. And today, I want us to create connection through the weather. I mean, remotely, we're all in different places, but there's been a storm passing through Germany. And my question is for Roland and Dirk, what did the wind or the storm, what did it break? What did it do? What did it do in your particular environment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you allow me to start, so I'm located quite near to Wolfsburg, and it was not too bad today. So I even had the luck that with my wife and my dog, after lunch, we had a short walk through our near forest. So I could enjoy the weather even if it was windy. So, and therefore, I don't expect any damages or something like that, but hopefully not for you as well. So that's my point.
Dirk, what about?
Yeah, there are some limbs on the street from the windy weather, and at the moment it's more rainy. It starts with sun in the morning, and at the moment it's more rainy, and there are quite a lot of limbs from the trees on the street. Okay. I think it will be more in the evening.
Yes, I guess we're all having April weather here in Cologne as well. My story is that I had a small Christmas tree that is in a pot, and the wind was so strong that it not only knocked over the Christmas tree, but it spread needles over the entire balcony. So everything is full of needles. And so I see that I've had now a little bit of December in April.
And that's interesting. I like the fact that you still have a Christmas tree. So I wonder how
it's planted.
I see. I just wondered how long you will keep your Easter eggs in your garden.
The idea was to have a growing tree to use that next year, but I don't think it's going to work.
I see.
Okay. So anyway, important in human-centered design is that we put people and their concerns and also their needs in the forefront of who we create for and also for what we do. And the tools and methods are a number, and Roland's going to show us or talk about how he and I are combining the two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just a brief word from my side to that. So as Carla mentioned, she's a facilitator for design thinking, and I'm a professional with a focus on project management and particularly legal project management. And as you can see in the graphics, we have a few requirements when we start a project, when we start to work on a solution, and when we try to design new solutions independently, if we talk about digital solutions or whatever. However, so in general, we have to think about parties which are involved. We have to think about the requirements and identify the requirements. We have to define the scope. We have to describe the objectives. We have to deal with assumption constraints and so on, which leads us to quality metrics, stakeholder analysis, communications and risk strategies, and other evaluations and things like that. And when Carla and I met, we found out that there are a lot of similarities. So all the outcomes which Carla will lead us to are perfect starting points for a legal matter or legal projects to use and to continue to work with. And therefore, we made the decision, okay, let's put that together and let's create this kind of webinar series to introduce this systemic approach.
Right.
Before I finally hand over to Carla, I would like to give you a brief overview. What are the parts of this webinar series? So we will conduct 4 webinars. The first one already took place in February, where we started to understand the challenge. I will give a brief overview over that in a second. Today we'll talk about the stakeholder mapping. The next one will be on 1st of April, which focuses on interviews. I'm very curious and excited about that. And the last one will be on 15th of April, related to persona and empathy map. And this will be the end of this webinar series with that webinar. However, of course, we will continue with another series where we will focus on the legal project management approach and how to create the solutions with all the information we identified and captured before. Understanding the challenge, this was the topic of the last webinar, where we identified why. So the main question was, or the statement was, too many lawyers have problems with digitalizing contract design. And Carla introduced us to the approach of why and how. And the first question was why. And so why do many lawyers have problems with digitalizing contract design? And the other question is, how could we create more openness and so on? And about the results, Carla, this might be something you can explain better than me.
Right. So it's important to state that our business case, our legal case, it will be the same throughout the webinar. So we're creating the conditions in order to design a contract in a different way, exploring different paths, and also using the input that we generate from our legal subject matter experts, Dominique and Dirk, in order to create a more specific, a more user-friendly solution. However, right now we're not in the solution space. We are exploring the problem. We're first of all, the very first webinar, we wanted to understand what our challenge or what our problem is. What are the dimensions? So we opened that up and asking why and building on those particular responses. And then we looked at the how. Without jumping into answers, we wanted to look at different approaches, different outcomes in order to understand the challenge and be able to use that data in the next phase or with the next tool. In design thinking, we build on the data that we've gathered in two different manners. One way, we collect a lot of ideas or a lot of data, and then we narrow it down. So we're constantly opening the challenge or the problem, and then we close it down until we get to a solution that's very much focused on the actual reality and the needs of our particular client or user. So with that, today we'll look at the stakeholders that have a stake. So not what you eat, but it's pronounced in exactly the same way. So they have a stake in our in generating a good solution to our question, which is about digitalizing contracts, legal contracts. So we want to create an ecosystem. We want to, again, open it up and look at who is involved, what are the relationships to each other, who has more influence, and how this then will play a role in how we approach this problem. So today we look at the stakeholders, and with Dirk, I'm going to open up my Miro board and we will then explore together.
Can you start sharing? Okay, great.
We will look for answers together, how we might make contract design more digital and lawyer friendly. And this particular way of framing the problem, how might we, this is an option, or this is a way of talking about a problem that actually opens up more opportunities. So it's we call it a how might we question, which is very impactful in one way, and also it's it invites more speculation at this point. So how might we make contract design more digital and lawyer friendly? And in our preparation, because we always do preparation for our webinars, we spoke with Dirk and we've already generated a number of stakeholders. Now, if we weren't doing just such a short session, this would be completely empty except for our particular challenge, or how might we question. Here, for the purposes of our webinar, we've already added the particular stakeholders that we heard from Dirk were the ones that he thought were the key stakeholders for our challenge. Now I'd like to invite Dirk to discuss with me and to tell me about what the particular stakeholders or the roles that these particular institutions might play in our in helping design an outcome for our problem statement. Dirk.
Yeah.
Where would you like to start?
First, I want to say I like the emoji from the lawyer. It's very nice.
Yes, it's good, huh?
I think we should start with the lawyers because it's the main group, I think.
I have an area.
And the question is what kind of benefit can produce for me as a lawyer if I use contract design. And one very important point for me is that I can get an overview of the status of the contract.
Okay.
What are open points and what are points where I already completed in my work. So I have a good overview in this point. For me, it's important.
Would you call that transparency?
Yes, transparency is good.
Okay, so if you create a contract in a digital manner with a digital offering, you feel you'd have more transparency and an overview. Is that correct?
That's correct. I can put a status symbol, green with it's complete and red is still in progress. Okay. So I can see in one view where I've finished the point and the points where I still have worked on it. That's very important for me, and it's also important for other people or other stakeholders, but we will talk about this later.
Okay.
Or I don't want to mix it now.
You go ahead. You can mix.
Status for the contract. It's also important for the client.
Okay.
The client can see which status has the contract, and also for my staff. For staff, it's important if a client called and I'm not at the office, they can say, yes, he's at this point. If you don't give the status overview to the client, then your staff can give information to the clients or ask for information from the client if something is needed to go on with the contract.
Okay, so are you thinking of like this transparency, something that you then see in your cell phone, or do you already have an idea? When you say that, what are you thinking of in terms of transparency or an overview?
Transparency means I can see it in my cell phone, or my staff can see it in the personal computer if they click on my account at this point, and they don't have to call me or ask me what is the status, or they can see it by themselves.
Okay.
And you can also offer this to the client. The question if you want that the client can always see the actual status.
Do you want that? Yeah.
No, I'm not sure. It depends of the client. Some yes, some no. It depends how big it or how much work it will be, and it depends on the client, I would say.
Okay.
There's also for the cooperation with the client, this is important that he can. Sometimes clients have ideas they don't talk about at the beginning, and then they say, "Oh, I want this and I want this. Can we put it also in, or have you finished it?" And they can make they can bring more ideas in the contract maybe.
Okay, so easier to add things to the contract, or maybe they've thought of different stipulations or different requirements.
Yeah, so they see a problem. I didn't see the problem, and they're thinking about the contract and say, "Oh, there's a problem we didn't talk about." And now you're in the overview, so you say you finished or you complete this point, but I think we have to talk about this point again. So to avoid problems in other points, there will be afterwards. So maybe that will save time, because we don't have to talk about at the finished contract. We can talk about during the process of creating the contract.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's saving time, but as you said, in the creation of the contract, that also means that the client, probably feels also a lot more in the picture. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can, it's easier for him to ask inquiries, or if you have inquiries, why do you make this or this? And then you can say it at this point, and you don't have at the end a list of 20 or 30 points from the client. Why did you make this? Why did you make this? Why is this?
Right.
And you can make it a little bit smarter for the client.
Do you think that the client in the end will have a better experience?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
It's or a better connection to the lawyer. It's also important to get better connected to the lawyer.
Yeah, very good. That's right. So better connection to the lawyer, at least also and more better access to the lawyer.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Right. And what do you think, or could you give me an idea? Just put yourself in the shoes of the client. What would he or she say after experiencing this type of designing the contract with you?
I hope you will like it.
Yeah. Okay. What would they say?
The question is, you must getting used with the method. And if you say, oh, this method is, I don't like it. I can't get anything. I can't get in touch with it. You will be not able to change this mind thinking of the client. So, but if the result is good,
yeah,
I think the client will say, "Oh, it's okay. It's a nice method, and I will do it again." And I will do it again, and I will do it again with you because I like this.
Ah, there we go.
That's to get a new job from the new mandate from the client.
Yeah, I mean that's often the case.
It's the most important for me.
Absolutely.
I'm independent, and so I have to. I'm living from clients, and what they think about me. It's very important.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, client satisfaction, better experience, repeat business. I mean, it's not just in the legal business that way, but here, sometimes the idea with technology that lawyers don't want to use technology, it's forgotten that this is often efficiency that will bring more satisfaction and more clients, or at least the client returns.
And maybe the clients are used to work with these methods. So it's so it's no great deal to work with them for them.
Right. So. Right. So should we talk a little bit about colleagues, lawyers, that you know, what do they need in order to work in a more digital way and create a more digital contract?
No, they need. First, you must be open-minded to use new technologies. I know most of the older colleagues will say, "No, I'm doing this for years, and it's always a good result." But they have, and my client is satisfied with the result. So why should I change something? But
and if you could also tell him, because, for example, that's what clients need and want, but what does this person need in order to take those steps to becoming more open-minded? We spoke a little bit about it the last time, and if you put yourself in their shoes, what kind of a mindset? What do they need?
They must see the benefit for them. So maybe there's less time pressure if they need something like the contract design, because they have a checklist and see, okay, if I'm working the points from the checklist, I need this, this, and I don't have to think about maybe I forgot something or something like this. I know I've everything I need. And if I work with it, it's okay, or it's a good. I will get a good result. and also if it's save time.
If it saves time.
Saves time. But for me as a lawyer, the day has only 24 hours, and I can only work a special amount of time for a client. So if I save time, I can work for another client.
Yeah.
Or I can other things. So it's very important to save time, or to create time slots, and so I can work for more clients, and I can, of course, the result is I can earn more money, maybe. But that's also important.
How can we convince, or what does another lawyer who's not as open-minded as you are, Dirk, need to take that leap of trust in order to learn something which will then save him or her time? But first you have to learn how to use it before you have the benefits. What do you think that they could use? What would they need? Any idea?
I think they need an example, or just have to try it for one case, or they must use it by themselves for a case and see the result, and see, oh yes, I'm saving time, or no, I'm not saving time.
Okay.
You have to. I think you can learn it only on the job. If you are working with it.
Time is a good hint. Unfortunately, we have to come to the conclusion.
Yeah.
Oh. But we have something prepared. Let me just get this last one in here. Okay, great. We didn't get to all of our stakeholders, but I think it became clear in this little mini exercise that we're doing how this can also bring out new perspectives and also new ideas that will be influential in the further course of developing solutions.
Yeah.
I will now then switch back to Roland.
Yeah, wait a second. I think before I start to share my screen, we have Paul left, so maybe you want to introduce it. So.
Right. Okay. We have a poll, because what we're doing in this webinar is it should have actionable, at least give you some ideas or some impulses how you could use these exercises in your work. So it should be practical tips for you. And now you've seen stakeholder mapping presented, and we'd like to know, what do you think about it? So what benefits do you see with stakeholder mapping? That's our question for our poll. And we have 3 possible answers. What benefits this could be? 1, it helps you to see a bigger picture of who is involved and why. 2, it improves the focus on the needs of those who will use the future solution. And 3, this information could help me avoid misunderstandings. So now I believe that Roland will then, the poll is up. Please submit your answer. And then we have a few minutes of time to talk about any questions, or maybe Dirk and I will talk about this. So what benefits do you see with stakeholder mapping?
I think Carla, can you see the results already?
No.
I see them.
Okay.
Oh, good, Dirk. I don't see them.
So, okay, then I don't know why you don't see them. However, so I will explain the results. So we have on the first answer, we have 50% who chose this option. So it helps me to see the bigger picture of who's involved and why. We have 17% of the participants voted for and approved the focus on the needs of those who will use the future solution. And we have 33% on the third option. This information could help me avoid misunderstandings.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Dirk, what do you think? What was for you the best answer and why?
It helps me to see the bigger picture of who is involved and why. Yeah. Because I can see in the overview who is connected to the contract, and maybe I missed somebody, and that's important for me, because if you create a contract and at the end you see, oh, I missed a party who is important at this point or at this point, or I need other information from paralegals or from other
staff, maybe
staff right, or right. Third parties. I see, okay, these persons are involved, and I have talked to them. Sometimes it's important to talk to them, maybe to a notary.
Notary. We didn't have a notary on the stakeholder maps, right?
Example for right. Somebody who knows was good in taxes, something like this. Yeah. And I see it. I have this person on the board, and I have the person is involved, and I have. In which points is this person involved? And right. That's for me important to see, that I don't forget something what is important. And of course, if my staff can see it also, I can say to the staff, we have here the notary, please make an appointment, and if you are used to use the method, you can always say to the staff, please do it as user or something like this, and they do it, and you can see it. Maybe if there's a status point, if they have done it or not. So.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. As you, it seems for you, it's very clear this type of status, and also knowing when things are carried out. I think there's another element that's really important that we didn't get into, but it's here a part of it, is identifying and maintaining expectations of the parties that are involved in the particular process. Now here, if we're talking about a contract between the lawyer and the client, and it's pretty contained, but as we just heard, there are other elements. For example, maybe there are tax elements involved, or there has to, a notary. So these are things, a stakeholder mapping can help you make sure that you're learning the right things from the right individuals, those Correct. That are playing a role or have a stake in the particular outcome of the process. And I think that's a really important point, is the identification, yes, but also looking at this relationship and kind of digging in a little bit further. Are there any unique perspectives? Are there any aspects that we really we wouldn't otherwise uncover? And with these relatively simple tools and a little bit more time than what we have, it's possible to do so. And I hope that our exercise today has given you a taste of what is possible. And I look forward to seeing you all on April 1st for our next session, where I will show and do a little bit of user research with our open-minded lawyer, Dirk. And he will be joining me for an interview. I'll explain why this is important and how critical it is to actually talk and with your users, and that this is a good way of doing so. So.
Okay. So yeah, as Carla mentioned, so these are quite simple tools, and as you see, so this screenshot, for example, I'm currently sharing looks different than the dashboard Carla worked on. So it doesn't really matter what you use. You can even do it on paper, so it's perfect. It's really such simple. However, as a giveaway or as a takeaway for you, we have prepared some templates for mind map, for Mind Manager, which we will send to each of the participants. So after this webinar, you will receive a mail from us, which includes this presentation, which includes these both templates, which have been used so far in the series. And of course, for the other webinars, we will add any kind of template which might be relevant for the further progress. So, however, yes, feel free to use the tools. Feel free to use these templates, and of course, feel free to contact us.
Yes, give us some feedback. That would be great. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, absolutely. So therefore, I think for today we have it. Except of your comments or feedback or questions in case. So, and from my side of view, thanks for joining us. Hope to see you next time. Have a great day. Enjoy these tools.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. And thank you, Dirk, for being our model open-minded lawyer. Kudos.